This is huge for the Toronto Raptors, and no, it's not because the Detroit Pistons are some tough competition the Raptors needed to win against. Even just a regular win wouldn't have been that big for the Raptors, because frankly, this Pistons team, I hate to say it because they've been bad for so long, but they look really hopeless, even with Monty Williams sort of in the mix. No more Dwayne Casey curse to hover over the Raptors' head, but no, the Toronto Raptors came out with a historic, dominant W against Detroit, and they were facilitating, passing the ball around. I believe they had a franchise record in terms of assists in this game. They came out and crushed the Detroit Pistons from start to finish, and we had a very close game, a well-rounded, sort of well-executed game for the Raptors versus the Celtics this weekend. Didn't get the W, had a bit of a dud last week against Milwaukee Bucks, and even our last win against the Washington Wizards, another sort of basement dweller in the NBA. We barely scraped by. It required a remarkable comeback from the Toronto Raptors in order to get that W. So the Raptors coming out and getting this massive win, having some guys that have been struggling a little bit as of late to get into a rhythm, fix some things out, is going to be huge for the Raptors, as our upcoming schedule is really going to be indicative of how likely this season is going to go, because obviously we've played the Bucks a bunch, the Sixers, the Celtics. Those are top teams in the NBA, but now we're going to be facing off against the teams that are sort of at our level in terms of talent-wise, or at least in terms of where the projected standings are going, including the Nets, the Pacers, the Magic. These types of teams, the Chicago Bulls, are going to be the squads we need to get W's against. So to have a confidence booster like this one against the Detroit Pistons is huge, and a lot of guys did have a confidence booster. And the first guy I want to discuss, because it seemed like Raptors media, some fans were turning on him a little bit, and stats definitely indicated that there was something a little bit sketchy going on with Jakob Poeltl, but he came out in this one, even though the box score doesn't indicate he did anything crazy in this game. I mean, if you look, this is the Detroit Pistons stats, but if you look at what Jakob Poeltl ended up doing, 6 of 6 from the field, 25 minutes, was hustling everywhere on the defensive end. He made it known that he said, hey, I got cooked. I got burnt by Damian Lillard in that Bucks game last week, and he wants to sort of come into his own and say, I want to execute on the defense end. He did a good job against the Celtics as well, but he came in motivated, got 3 blocks in the outing, and just energy from start to finish, whether it was Stewart, whether it was Wiseman, whoever the heck was out there on the court against him. Poeltl was getting those rebounds. He was securing those defensive boards. Again, his boards in terms of this game, 10 boards in only 25 minutes. It's just impressive for Poeltl. But, I mean, this is the type of Jakob Poeltl game that we want to see. No, he's not going to be putting up 20, 30 points a night. No one expected that when this trade ended up going down. But we did expect rebounding, which the Raptors lacked, not having a center for so many seasons. We expected rim protection, which we got with the blocks tonight, not even necessarily in blocks, but positioning and things along those lines, and then finishing at the basket. And tonight, Poeltl executed showed all the reasons in terms of why we traded for him. Again, that first round pick is still a bit sketchy. It's still something that we'll see how the season play out in terms of until we get to really judge how that trade sort of went for the Raptors. Even, that pick does seem very valuable, but Poeltl is definitely a guy that I was really impressed with, bouncing back in terms of his game tonight, and now against upcoming competition. Hopefully that momentum carries through. And another guy that is sort of not dealt with some injuries, but even in the games where he's been healthy, hasn't looked as sharp as, explosionary off the bench as we were sort of hoping coming in the season, as Gary Trent Jr. returned, and, he's been back now a bit, and basically Gary Trent Jr. had a solid performance in this one. Coming off the bench, 18 points. Again, the stats don't really matter because everyone really looked good in this game, but Gary in this one, 6 of 12 from the field, knocking down 2 of 7 threes, playing some solid defense, just looking more engaged, ready to fire that basketball. Darko Rajovic, head coach of the Toronto Raptors, discussed getting Gary Trent Jr. the ball a little bit more. We saw it in the Celtics game, and tonight, that sort of carried over. It's continued, and Poeltl and Gary Trent Jr., sure, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, they're our top 3 guys. And Dennis Schroeder, regardless of where you rank him in terms of the Raptors starters or Raptors top players, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But the 2 guys that are really going to be the difference makers in terms of whether or not the Raptors are a borderline play-in team or an actual playoff team is, can Gary Trent Jr. actually provide some firepower off the bench, and can Poeltl be a rim protector, be consistent, and all that type of stuff? Because we know we're going to get some scoring, some defense, some, from our top 3 guys in OG, Pascal, and Scotty Barnes. We know we'll get a solid point guard production from Dennis Schroeder from everything we've seen from him. But now the X factors on the Toronto Raptors are really going to determine how this season's going to go. And yes, this game is just against the Detroit Pistons, so we can't say, oh, everything is fixed and everything is all good. But to have a game like this, where you're not doing a remarkable comeback in order to get scraped by a little W against one of the league's worst teams, as we had to do against the Washington Wizards last week, come out, stomp on the Detroit Pistons, have that sort of momentum swinging game. It is huge for this team. But looking at the top guys, wasn't just the other guys in the Toronto Raptors that played well, but Pascal Siakam finally hit a 3 in this game, which is great to see. But 23 points for Pascal, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. Shooting really efficient from the field, 10 of 18 from the field. I don't got my glasses on, so I thought that's at 16-18, but still very efficient from Pascal Siakam. Nice to see him have a strong outing. And just looking at our top 3 guys, OG didn't have the greatest of nights, but I thought he did a really good job on the defensive end, particularly guarding Thompson and whoever he was matched up against, throughout the game. And then Scotty Barnes also provided a lot of energy and continues to sort of be the backbone of this Toronto Raptors offense. 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 17 points. But the thing that impressed me most from Scotty Barnes in this game is the quick trigger and the confidence that he has firing up whether they're long range threes, whether they're sort of, catch and shoots, letting them fly. Scotty Barnes has full confidence in his jump shot right now. The percentages have gotten better and he's taken some tough ones. And tonight we see why, he's just catching fire in a hand in his face. It doesn't matter. It looks like there are moments where he has the confidence of a Klay Thompson, of a Ray Allen, just catching it and letting it fly. So Scotty Barnes develops that jump shot, is able to shoot threes the same way he did tonight against the Detroit Pistons. That's going to be a huge dimension of his game that's really going to unlock the Toronto Raptors even further. So all those guys were solid. And again, Dennis Schroeder also had a strong outing in this one, right? 8 of 15 from the field. Everyone played well. No threes from Dennis. Hit a couple weird sort of fadeaway shots, but 17 points, 7 assists. Just an all-around solid performance for the guys, starting lineup. But it was also the bench, which is great to see because obviously Gary and Jakob Poeltl are higher in the pecking order for the Toronto Raptors, but we do need some other players off the pine to provide a spark for this Raptors team. And ever since Precious Achiuwa returned from injury, looked a little bit sketchy there at the very beginning, but definitely as games have gone along, the propaganda might have to get drummed up again. I'm not going to do it just yet, the old Precious propaganda. I'm not going to spew it out too much on these podcasts, but I was really impressed from what we saw with Precious Achiuwa in his outing here tonight. Basically, him and Chris Boucher, right? Boucher, 14 points, 6 rebounds, looking really confident, firing his threes. Again, Boucher, when he's knocking down his threes, is a huge positive. And even Precious knocked down a couple of threes in this one, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, facilitating. Who would have thought we'd ever see a Precious Achiuwa game with 5 assists? It's great to see from our 2 backup bigs. If we're getting this level of production off the bench from even one of these guys on any given night, that's a recipe for success, a recipe for a W. Now, the defense from the Detroit Pistons was not good, so take it all with a grain of salt, but I was really happy with the confidence. Even Boucher slashing all these guys, just making the right plays, making the right decisions, and shots going in. Recipe for success from the Toronto Raptors, whether you're playing the Pistons or you're playing the Denver Nuggets. So that's all huge. Looking at everyone that sort of got onto the sheet, got on the box. So Ron Harper Jr. got in some minutes at the end. McDaniels only played 8 minutes, and so knocked down a couple shots from the field. But Grady Dick, also, his minutes have been dwindling a little bit as of late, but at least hit a shot there at the end, got the crowd hyped. 5 points. I thought played some solid defense. He gets called on these weird shots. Hustled. That one steal that he had was actually a really nice sort of interception. I'm still very high on Grady Dick and the potential that he has for this team. But again, those shots have to go down more often. Has to be more of an impact player in terms of spacing the floor for this Raptors squad. And the final guy that we do have to talk about is Malachi Flynn, who 7 points in this one, 4 assists, 2 steals. Didn't need anything crazy from Flynn. He just kept feeding the hot hands and getting the game going for this Raptors squad. So again, this is a big win, not because it's against the Detroit Pistons, not because, we should say all the Raptors are back or all the issues that we've had have been fixed because we executed great against this Pistons team, but it's a step in the right direction, and the Raptors have been playing better, so it's nice to see that actually show into a massive win for this team rather than, you play a quarter of this type of basketball and then you have to scrape things and you just scratch out a win at the end. But let me know what you guys think about this Toronto Raptors squad. Also, didn't mention at the beginning of the video, but we 53% of you guys are watching the vids are not subscribed, and we are very, very close to 30,000 subscribers. So mean the world to me, especially if you made it this far in the video. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be delivering Raptors content every single day. So you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.